If you are sick and tired of just going against fire staffs in corrupted dungeons, here is the absolute hard counter to the fire staff, the Trinity Spear build with the Hunter Hood, Cleric Robe, and the Plate Shoes. In this video, we are going to show you the entire build, all of the skills that you need, the potions and the food, and how you would strategize against some of the builds that you would see regularly in Stalker Corrupted Dungeons. So if that's something that is interesting for you, stay tuned up until the end of the video. Let's just go over the build. It's the Trinity Spear, Hunter Hood, Cleric Robe, Guardian Boots, or any Plate Shoes actually, Thetford Cape, the Healing Potion, Pyramid Snapper, and an extra Gigantify Potion. We're going to look at all of the skills, all of the effects, and in this video to make you ready for Stalker Corrupted Dungeons in Albion Online. All right, first off, the Trinity Spear. The Trinity Spear, for the Q ability, you want to use Spirit Spear. All right, this is the enchant Q, basically. The enchant Q, every time you use the Q ability, it gives you stacks. Stacks that increases your physical auto attack damage by 28%. Stacks up to 3 times and lasts for 8 seconds, okay? And your auto attack range also increases by 40%, and your attack damage by 5% for 8 seconds, and that can stack up to 3 times as well. So your auto attack range, all right, increases, your damage increases, your physical auto attack damage increases per Q stack. So that's pretty good, all right? So there is this one thing about this specific build though, or a specific skill. This is something that you need to take note of. The energy cost for this Q ability is just 10, all right? If you have less than 3, it's just 10. It's just 10. It's just 10. But when you have 3 stacks and you use it, the first one is an additional 5. The second was an additional 10. The third one is an additional 15 energy cost. And the more you use it with 3 stacks, 15 energy cost on top of the 10. So as you can see, if you just keep on stacking, keep on pre-stacking, it is definitely going to drain your energy so much. So you don't really want to pre-stack all the time. Look for your opponent, inspect their abilities, and then start pre-stacking. All right, keep your distance, start pre-stacking. And then when you go at 2, you may want to stop and look at your cooldowns here. All right, and then pre-stack the third one and then engage. Don't just pre-stack, 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 because it will reduce your energy to basically 0. But the good thing is that your default skill on the W ability is the Deflecting Spin. The Deflecting Spin gives you 100% reflex. All right, it gives you damage resistance, increases your damage resistance by 156, and it restores 5 energy every 0.5 seconds, and it can last up to 3.5 seconds, and the cooldown is 10 seconds. So you can basically use this every 6.5 seconds. All right, it's kind of OP. It reflects all of the damage, increases your resistances, increases your energy, plus on top of that, it has super low cooldown. So this is your default. This is what you would want to use mostly against bows, fire staffs. I find that it's really easy to kill a fire staff. And as a fire staff main, this is the hardest counter to my build. Is the Cleric Robe and Hunter Hood. So you may want to use the Deflecting Spin almost all the time. There is also a benefit to using Cripple against swords. Especially if they don't use the block ability on their W skill. You can just purge all of their movement speed buff, deal damage, slow them down. And the good thing about this is if you purge someone, if you use Cripple and purge someone of their movement speed, it actually increases your movement speed by 50%, increases all of your damage by 25% for 5 seconds. So this is like an insane buff and a purge, a movement speed purge for your opponent. So use that against swords because every time they have Q stacks, you can just purge that, increase your damage, increase your movement speed. So you can do that as well. I would say the most common W ability for spears is the Impaler. This is the one that just point. There you go. Basically conjures a spear below the ground, from below the ground, and deals damage, slows your opponent as well. This is a really good damage dealer because it only has 12 seconds cooldown. It's really, really good for slowing them down, especially when they're running. And for an initial engage as well. You can just poke them from the ground. And wait, boom. And deal damage, slow them down as well. So those are the three most common W abilities. Obviously, you can also use the Harpoon. I haven't seen the Harpoon used effectively. They usually use this for sometimes for fire staffs with firewall, which I don't really agree. You would want to use deflecting spin every time you use or you see a fire staff anyways. This one, inner focus, although it was buffed a little bit, you can definitely use it for movement speed, right? A lot of movement speed, but I don't really see it working for most builds, but you can give it a shot. It has a relatively long cooldown if you use the double W ability. This increases all of your damage and movement speed by 8% for each time for 0.2 seconds. So if you full cast this for basically 0.8 seconds, right? And you use the W ability again for release, it increases your movement speed more for like 30%, and you're immune to slows, roots, and stuns for 2 seconds. You can use that, but I'm still biased towards deflecting spin, especially against fire. All right, the E ability of your Trinity Spear is the Spectral Trident. So this leaps, all right? This leaps towards the target position, makes you immune to all crowd control effects, debuffs, and damage until impact. Roots your enemies by roots enemies for 4.5 seconds basically, and deals damage as well. And on top of that, it conjures this green glowing orb thingy that increases your movement speed by 50%, increases your auto attack speed by 85%, and reduces cast time by 30%. But the reduced cast time is mostly about when you are using it for small scale. So in this case, it's only about, for Corrupted Dungeons, it's only about movement speed and attack speed. So it increases that. And also, if you use it like this, boom, right? Increases your attack speed like crazy. So if you have your Q stacks ready to go, you basically deal enough damage with your normal attacks. And this is what makes this build so good. Most of your damage is definitely going to come from normal attacks. It's like no question about it. Most of your damage is going to come from normal attacks. And the passive that you want to use is the Life Leech, which every normal attack steals 15% of the health that your enemy has lost. Basically, you have normal attacks that just heals you for a lot. Actually, a lot per normal attack, which is crazy. And we're going to go with the food explanation here. We're going to use the Pyramid Snapper, Roasted Pyramid Snapper, which increases your max health by 10.87%. And on top of that, increases your Life Leech by 6.62%. And it does actually stack. So if you look here, let's like zoom in. I don't know if it helps, but you do get plus 22 and plus 10. Plus 22 comes from your Life Leech. Plus 10 comes from your food. So basically every normal attack that you do, you gain health, which is pretty cool. All right, the Hunter Hood for the hood. It's a pretty standard hood now for Corrupted Dungeons. It increases your damage resistance by 55 for 3 seconds and reflects 85% of all incoming damage as a magical damage. For your passive on your hood, go with Balanced Mind. Although you can definitely go with Swiftness for your auto attack speed. Again, you basically live and die with your attack speed. So you can definitely switch from Balanced Mind to attack speed to increase your attack speed And it will be affected because your life leech, since you can attack more, you're gaining a lot more health. All right, so you can definitely switch to swiftness passive on that one. For the Cleric Robe, this is when your opponent actually has Hunterhood, and most of your opponents in Corrupted Dungeons will have some sort of reflect. So this is actually perfect for when you jump on your opponents, they activate a defensive like a Hunterhood. You can just activate your Cleric Robe, increases your damage for 3 seconds by 20%. All right, so on top of your buff that you get on your leap, you add an additional damage of 20% on your Everlasting Spirit. And with that, you use Aggression as well on the passive so that you increase, again, further your damage by 8%. Okay. For the boots, it's a typical rejuvenating sprint boots for this build. You can use any boots whatsoever. I just prefer Guardian boots in general if I'm using plate shoes. So go rejuvenating sprint and go with the toughness passive on this one. For your cape, use a Threat for your cape because again, this build revolves around normal attacks. And your Chain Lightning on the Threat for your cape replenishes every 15 seconds. So you have more damage on your normal attacks every 15 seconds. That just makes sense. For healing potions, you use healing potions in this one. Again, a typical Corrupted Dungeon build. Use healing potions and a swap for Gigantify potions, which you use against Fire Staff. Fire Staff, use it anytime you can just bully your opponent and they have burst damages. You may want to switch to Gigantify potion just so that you can sustain more damage. Plus, if they brawl against you, you definitely have a damage advantage, especially if you land your E ability and you can just basically melt people. All right. So that's basically the entire build. It's fairly simple. It's reliant heavily on normal attacks, all normal attacks all day long. If you're just sick and tired of Fire Staffs in Corrupted Dungeons, Trinity Spear with the deflecting spin is your answer. So I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below and enjoy the rest of the clips. That was more complicated than I thought it was going to be. Hello? Hello? Okay. I feel like it's very obvious that I don't know how to. Okay. That's alright. Bro, what was that fight? Again, did not hit my E. How dare you miss? That's unfortunate. That was really unfortunate. We don't need content creators, basically, is what he's saying. It was just wild. Yeah.